3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis.
Yo, how is everybody doing? Good. Special edition ad roast today. Rich, what the hell are we doing?
So today's going to be a fun one. So unless you've been hiding under a rock, literally start of the week was the Super Bowl. And we all know that the Super Bowl is a huge deal in America and in a lot of places around the world. Quick fact. If you want to advertise during the halftime show of the Super Bowl, you will pay more than $180,000 per second. So therefore, it's safe to say that the reviews we're going to do on these ads today, there has been millions and millions of dollars spent. So what we thought we'd do is, for a bit of fun, we would take a look at the three biggest ones that were the big names that were spent. And here's the thing. Never yet has there ever been a crypto-based ad shown during a Super Bowl show. So we thought, since this is such a monumental shift, we'd have a bit of fun, review the three big ones, and actually see what we can extract from those three ads. Bit of a laugh, bit of fun, not too serious, but as they say, follow the money. So since there's been that much spent, I'm sure there's some good tips we can offer.
Yeah, and also, I guess, just, seeing, because here's the thing with these, like, we don't know from any kind of, any ads that we review, what we don't know is how well they have performed, right? So we might be laughing at them, but who knows? Maybe they've made an absolute killing from it. So we don't know, but what we will do is dissect them and look at what is going to be applicable, because really, our audience who watch these streams, most of them are kind of small to medium-sized businesses, right? For a lot of these brands who are advertising on the Super Bowl, they're in a completely different realm a lot of the time. Big brands with big budgets like Coca-Cola, it's a completely different form of advertising, right? It is so far removed from what a small business would need to do, or the approach I would need to take. And actually, this is like a major issue that we often see, is small businesses looking at what these bigger brands are doing and like, oh, how can we do that? How can we do something like that? And trying to run those kind of in-your-face ad placements on things. But it's a completely different ball game altogether. So let's kind of look at this through the lens of like, what can we actually extract from here that's actually going to be useful? What are the lessons that, a small business or medium business watching this can actually implement to get themselves results? So Rich, have you got the websites ready?
So I've got the videos ready because they were all video-based ads. Awesome. And if Tom wants to, we can even look at the website afterwards, or the landing page used for, just to see like how it fits. Now, quick preface, these are all crypto-based ads. And like I said, they've never been run at the Super Bowl before. So these people have basically come in with whopping budgets and said, okay, cool, let's run these. And the idea is basically to get people's attention from all of those watching, get them across and get them to start using their exchange, right? Their product. So let's start with, when it allows me to share, and I'll add sound. All right, approve it, Thomas. Approve it.
Here we go.
So the first ad is Crypto.com. Now, quick disclaimer, I do have a Crypto.com card. And I also have a Coinbase account, which we'll get to in a moment. So I'm not soliciting. I'm not giving any kind of advice on any of these things. This is strictly about the ads. This is not a recommendation. Now that's
also
covered,
I haven't seen these ones either. So this is the first time I've seen this. I have seen the Coinbase ad. I think it's pretty hard to not have seen the Coinbase ad at this point because everyone's sharing it. But these two I haven't seen. So this is my first time watching this, as it may be for anyone watching as well.
Cool beans. Right then. So first one, Crypto.com.
So cordless headphones. You can watch movies through your phone. And y'all got electric cars. Yeah. The future is crunk.
Anything else you want to know? Is the hype too much? Am I ready? I can't tell you everything. But if you want to make history, you gotta call your own shots.
We going to the league. We going to the league. We going to the league.
Do you know what? I've just realized? Like, I actually can't even remember who that was.
See, let's discuss this quickly, because here's the fascinating fact. That tells me your attention span wasn't there, because LeBron James was the newspaper article on the wall. Now, here's the pros to this thing. They're using celebrity endorsements. Bearing in mind that this is all based at the Super Bowl, right? America. So most Americans will all know who LeBron James is. So it's almost influencer marketing. So they're using a big name to scatter their brand. And the message that I'm getting from this is basically fortune favors the brave. So even though you don't know what crypto is, you should be getting involved. It's not the clearest, in my opinion. It felt a bit of a mismatch the first time I watched it. It made more sense the second time I've seen it. Personally, I think they could have done better. I do think that, especially during such a hype event, during the Super Bowl, where everyone's cheering, drinking, all kinds, that just felt very fluffy, and the message didn't really land. So for me, go on.
I was just going to say, I guess the difficult thing with these is what we don't necessarily know is the full context of where this ad fits into their overall strategy, right? So that could be like, that's what I'd consider very much top of funnel content, right? It's a way of getting, especially when they're going after mass audience like that, it's a way of getting people to maybe warm up to the idea of crypto by saying fortune favors the bold, using those celebrity endorsements that people recognize. So you're kind of warming people up. So maybe there are, they have, and there's lots of, I'm not too familiar with, TV media and things like that, but there are, I believe, ways of now actually being able to retarget people from TV ads. So people who have seen your TV ads using digital TV or, playing back on digital channels, you are able to actually track them from their digital fingerprint ultimately and retarget them. So that could be a very clever top of funnel ad to reach a mass audience and then retarget them with, messages later down the funnel. So I guess the thing we do need to kind of caveat this with is we don't know what their bigger picture strategy is. But in isolation, yeah, I agree. It's kind of like, again, I can't even remember the name of them. And I was paying attention through the ad. It's just, it flashed up so quickly, like the actual brand name. So I got the message and I thought it was really cool. And I thought it was almost quite like, the production value of it made me feel something. And that message at the end really hit home. Like I felt the message, but I just didn't have the association with the brand.
Okay.
And for me, it's big. And I guess, when you're paying 100 odd grand per second, you probably got to draw the line somewhere, right? Do we want that message to hit? How much time do we allocate to showing the brand? So it's one of those things where I think it is going to be important that for the people that saw that, they are now kind of seeing some follow-ups from crypto.com. So people remember it. Was it crypto.com?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it did stick. I wasn't sure. Like I thought, is that who it was? So I think for someone seeing that for the first time, they might have just completely been like, oh, that was a cool ad, but what was that for again?
And that's the problem, is the message has to land, and you have to have some sort of theme behind it where someone's like emotionally connected to what you've seen.
Yes.
But out of interest, people watching this stream, whether you're watching it from YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, rate that on a scale of 0 to 10 and let us know what you think. Pop it down below in the comments so we can come back and have a look. This is going to happen on all three. Please feel free. Tom, rate that as 0 to 10. What would you rate it as?
Mate, you know me. Marketing is too complex for me to give that a rating. I can't say where it fits into the strategy. In isolation, the big thing lacking, I think it had the emotional punch, but there wasn't enough there for me to then associate that emotional punch with a brand, because I can't even remember who the brand was. So it's like Rich is saying, like that emotional impact is important because that's what's going to potentially move somebody into action, but then it somehow needs to be associated with your brand, right?
And
or they need to be able to
4 million because it was 30 seconds. So they have to squeeze all of this into 30 seconds. That's a hard job. I would give them a 6 out of 10 for that. Personally, I thought more could have been done. I think they could have brought in crypto a little better so that people were informed. Because bearing in mind, I'm a crypto nut, right? So I appreciate and understand, oh, brave, because it can be deemed risky in most people's eyes. But to someone who doesn't know this, that's going to mean nothing. So for me, I felt that that could have been made slightly better. Otherwise, again, it's at least cinematic. They've used the big names. There's something there.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on to door number 2. What's behind door number 2, Tom? Want to take a punt?
Let's have a look.
This one, by the way, I am a big fan of. I actually like this one, and I'm now going to show you why. So, this is FTX, one of the bigger crypto exchanges.
Mate, you play it from the start.
Yeah, that's not even part of the ad, mate. So I'm playing
it.
it.
Okay.
Here. This is the beginning of the ad. I'll mute.
They call it the wheel.
I don't think so. What does it do?
The rules.
Yeah, so does a bagel, okay? A bagel you can eat. One of the worst ideas I've ever heard.
Brother David, behold, it's a fork.
I got 10 forks right here, baby! Am I right? My lord? What is it? A toilet, my lord. A toilet? You expect this court to do its business inside? We're not animals. We go outside like humans.
It's coffee. It's new.
It's awful.
You don't like it?
I'm all jittery and feel like I got a big job coming up.
Hancock, you sign first.
No king! Gentlemen, have you taken leave of your senses?
The people shall have the rights to vote.
Even the stupid ones?
Yes.
Stupid people vote?
Yes.
Edison, can I be honest with you? It stinks. Does your wife know what's going on here?
She knows I go to work.
You're wasting your time, and it's sad. You might as well put the dishes in the shower. Hey, Captain, what's cooking?
We're putting a man on the moon.
Are you out of your mind? I can't even get tuna without celery. Nobody's going to the moon, ever.
Why not?
It's too far. It's far. It's really far. It's far.
我々の未来はポータブルミュージックです。
バカかバカかわかるだろうわかるだろうわかるだろう出ていけみんないるのか怖いんだバタリがいつの上でしょバタリどこバタリ
Like I was saying, it's FTX. It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm never wrong about this stuff. Never. Franklin! Hey, I left my cane in there. What? What do you mean? Hey, that's an expensive cane!
Well, I don't know about you, but I actually really like that one.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The only thing I was thinking is it felt like it went on a bit too much for me. Like I did really, I love what they're doing there, and I'm sure we'll kind of unpack this more, but I love that they've kind of leveraged these major events in human history to make a point about where they think crypto is going. Like that was very, very smart, and it's a very effective way to be able to overcome the objections that people are thinking about. You know, there's going to be a lot of people out there going out to this mass audience who are thinking, oh God, crypto, here we go, one of those fads. And it's just enough to kind of plant a seed in maybe even a skeptic's mind and get them thinking, what if? It's kind of really doing a good job at making that point, like, hey, you know, there's been a lot of things like this, a lot of new things where people have said, oh yeah, whatever. So that was very, very cleverly done. And I guess the other thing, with even with it being long, they could now repurpose that ad and put that into lots and lots of small chunks and run each one individually as a little kind of 30-second snippet across social media, right? Just little bits of those, or across any other platforms. So yeah, I think I do like that one a lot. I really appreciate that one.
Yeah, see, for me, it was like, if you think about it, it's a big event. You sat there watching, maybe with your friends, your family. You're in a fairly good mood, right? I found it really entertaining. Now, if you're a crypto nut, you're kind of like stood there and you're like, yeah, finally someone comes out and says it as it is, right? Because you have strong belief and conviction in the future of crypto being financed, right? If you're not, it challenges that. So it really like instills kind of like, it digs into that belief system as well. So it cuts quite deep. But they've done it in a humorous way where they could almost point the finger and laugh at anyone who's not a bit, but you don't take it like that. You're kind of like, actually, that was quite humorous. So for me, the way they told that story, I really enjoyed it. And there's a lot of like slapstick humor and stuff in there as we go through as well, isn't there? So for me, I was like, I would happily give that like an 8 out of 10. I think, again, I agree with you. If anything, maybe they could shorten it a tiny bit because that's going to cost a bomb to show, like mental money. But then I look at it.
Yeah, the point was made for me like within the first 30 seconds, and it's kind of like, okay, I get it. But yeah, like they've got a lot of content out of it. So
I'd happily give it an 8 out of 10 because again, there's so little like really wrong with it, and the fact that they play it on at the end again as well. It's like I would remember that when I left. If I was there, regardless of the outcome, who won, I would leave and I would remember the ad. And through association, I'd remember the ad to the exchange. So there's a very strong chance that I would check that out.
Yeah, and it kind of builds on what we were saying with that last one with Crypto.com, in that they made a big point. Like, he showed the phone. He even said the brand name. So there's a lot more association for people to be able to not only receive the message, but then associate it with that particular brand or what's it called? Exchange.
Yep. So again, it's like storytelling and narratives. They're so powerful. It's how we see the world, right? We know the world through story. Let me tell you about my day, right? It's how we operate. And so I thought to myself, like, these guys have really thought this through. They've thought about those pivotal turning points where everyone's doubted. They've looked at adding some humor, so it's entertaining at the same time. And then they've basically found a nice way of blending the lot together, but having a nice, clean, easy call to action at the end that makes it memorable. So for me, I was like, it really does tick all those boxes. So yeah, like for me, don't underestimate the fact of having some very clear pieces of evidence. Use what people know in the real world. So things that no one can argue, because a lot of us will have opinions on things like we're having here. We're having opinions on it, right? But the facts can't be denied. So the invention of the wheel, the invention of the toilet, what happened to them? Well, we know. So it doesn't matter who you speak to, unless they're crazy and they still think the world's flat, in which case you might not want to have a conversation with those in the first place, right? Anything outside of that, we would all agree the fork exists, the toilet exists. So they're using real life things that we all know to support an argument of something forward. So if you can tell a story and use real world facts, it's very difficult to deny it. So that's very clean marketing, in my opinion. So maybe if you're watching this, think about how you can use real life events combined with a big sort of trend like the Super Bowl. You don't need to necessarily do that. Like, I don't know, maybe if you're if you're selling flowers, maybe Valentine's Day is an obvious big one for you. If you're a restaurant, what sort of times a year, like summer, maybe when people go out, these sort of times of the year combined with some kind of story narrative and wildlife facts. For me, that was the formula that was put together. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me and the kind of the key takeaway is really when it comes to thinking about advertising, and I think this is quite a kind of macro viewpoint on it. But when it comes to advertising, it's really, really important to consider, like, if people don't know about you, okay, when most people advertise, it's because not enough people know about you. You're looking for more people to know about you and to eventually buy your product or become a customer, buy your product, buy your service, become a customer. If you try to advertise by just going out there and trying to make a case for why you're so good, you are going to fall flat on your face. You're going to have a very, very, very hard time. So there's really, there's several ways, but for simplicity, I'll break it down into two ways. if you want to interrupt somebody's day through advertising like TV, social media, any kind of interruption-based advertising, you need to either speak into a direct pain point very, very quickly, something that that person is immediately suffering from, right? So you need to say, are you suffering from this? Are you a XYZ who is experiencing ABC? Right? So are you this individual experiencing this? You're calling out your audience, calling out and speaking into a specific pain.
Relevancy.
Or you meet them through entertainment. Because when people are on their social media feed, you know, that we naturally stop at things that look weird, grab our attention, like something that's a bit of a, you know, we call it a pattern interrupt in marketing, right? Something that's going to stop me scrolling. It, like, if people are so conditioned and used to seeing ads, if they see something that just looks like an ad, they're just going to keep scrolling. So it needs to either be wildly wacky and entertaining like these guys have done, or it needs to have very, very good sales copy and speak into a very specific pain. And the reason it needs good copy or good scripting, if it's a video, is because you have to then hook people in. And like Rich is saying, hook people into a story. It's going to be much more effective. If you're just trying to sell your product, people know it. It doesn't matter how good your product is. People don't want to be sold to. If you do it at the right time, however, though, again, like using this example, if you were to run like an ad like that, educate them, get them thinking, then run some retargeting ads later down the funnel. Now they're warmed up to you. They're now more receptive and more willing and ready to be sold to. But if you're trying to interrupt somebody's day to put the message out there about why your brand's so good, why your company's so good, you're really going to be struggling when it comes to ads. So that would be the kind of key takeaway, you know, I would say from this one.
Nice, because at the end of the day, we do want the viewers to get something from this. So for me, it was like relevancy is the key part. So why is this relevant to me? And like you said, a pain or a problem is going to be incredibly relevant if it's correct. So therefore, great way of starting it. If not, pattern interrupt, entertained in some way.
That's what this one was, yeah. Just pattern interrupt, entertainment. Like you said, they had the humor and I guess another thing with any TV advertising, most people when the adverts come on, they're on their phone. Yeah. Right. So it has to, and even the music, it was very loud. It was very in your face. It's one of those things where people might be on their phone as soon as the ads come on and they're like, what the hell is this?
They stop and look. Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that's going to get them to look. So yeah, I like that.
Now hold that thought, because you said whilst they're doing this, they're on their phone. And this feels like the perfect transition into the third and final ad, which again, unless you've been hiding under a rock, you'll probably have seen it. But do you know why it worked or why we believe it worked? More on that in a moment. Let me share screen and reveal the third and final ad. And then, Tom, I'm going to push you for a winner of what you think, in your unbiased opinion, which one you think would have won. So, third and final ad is Coinbase. And yes, it is this for a whole minute, just in case you hadn't got the message. And just for the record, that last bit there, I believe that's a plant.
You believe what?
That bit at the end there, the blue screen, you know why that is?
No. Tell me.
Here's my theory. And this bit, guys, is theory. In case you didn't know, the rumors are, and it's pretty much clear, the Coinbase website actually crashed at the end of that ad showing. Now, what's traditionally assumed when a website crashes? What's the usual probable reason everyone says? Too much traffic, right? Website couldn't handle the volume of traffic. Now, there's two lines of thinking here. One, that was a highly successful ad. Why? Because it's just a damn QR code bouncing around a screen. The only thought you can have is, what the hell is that QR code? And all you might know, because there was actually pre-roll ads done in advance on social before this event, and it's important I pre-frame this. So there was talk of like 3 million in Bitcoin being given away.
By Coinbase?
To users, yeah. That was a rumor. How factual that is, I don't know, but that was the talk, okay? So when you're there at the game, and that comes up, and you just see this goddamn QR code with some old retro music bouncing around a screen, how tempted are you to just do that? And just scan it and find out? Now, if the goal is to get them to visit your site, is there a more effective manner? That's my thoughts, right? Now, for me, all we can say is we know it crashed afterwards. I'm curious to hear everyone who's watching this is their thought. Do you think they'd pull something like that on purpose, where they'd actually take their website down deliberately just to create the drama that would possibly come when people go home and say, I tried to get on the Coinbase app and the whole thing just went down. That thing must have blown up, and it becomes the talking point. And as a byproduct, everyone knows about this ad before we've shown it. Really interesting marketing strategy, I've got to say. If that was deliberate and they pulled that off and it happened, they deserve an Oscar. Genius. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you would think like a company like Coinbase, I think that they would be sophisticated enough to know that, or to anticipate, like if you're running ads at the Super Bowl, surely you are going to anticipate a shit ton of traffic coming to your site. You know, Coinbase being a tech company, surely they would know to really kind of batten down the hatches as such and make sure that they've got, you know, the resources on their servers to be able to cope with that demand. But maybe it was, like, who knows? And I agree. Like, I think it would, if it was intentional, it would be a very effective strategy either way, because it just helps build up social proof. It's a talking point, it's PR, all the press are going to be writing about it. You know, it's a very, very clever strategy if it was intentional, for sure.
And also, it's just so different, isn't it? I mean, doesn't it take giant balls to do that? You've just spent, what, $1.8 million, maybe more, on showing that ad for that period of time. No, it's more than that. It's like 10 million. Isn't it? If it's 180,000 per second, and it was 60 seconds, like, my God, that's megabucks, right? So you've spent all the money on development. You've spent a ton of money on resources, and now you've just thrown this out. Like, you've got to have gigantic bollocks to put that thing out and do that and know that it's just so, it is literally just a QR code.
The other interesting thing about this one is that it was, well, I don't know, but I didn't see any kind of offer being given from those other ads. But if you go onto the Coinbase website, like that drops.coinbase.com that they gave at the end, and actually, let me just share my screen now and show this. Yeah. They are actually giving away $5 in Bitcoin to start, right? So there is an offer here. So you think, well, flipping out, they've just spent all that money on the ad. Now they're giving away $5. Well, I think, and this is where I'd be curious to know kind of the marketing, the bigger marketing plan and strategy behind this. I would imagine to Coinbase, they probably know a lot of people that sign up are never going to buy, but they know that some of the people will have an extremely high lifetime customer value, right? That probably more than pays for the ad and the shortfall that they get from the customers who maybe claim their $5 and then don't really invest anything else. And this is where it comes down to, because I've seen a lot of businesses, you know, and sometimes this is like, for example, e-commerce, right? With e-commerce, I've seen a lot of businesses who, if you know that you have a very, very high average lifetime customer value, you may even be able to afford to, as a marketing strategy, to actually go into a loss on the front end, as crazy as that sounds. So you're acquiring customers at a loss because, you know, on average, most people end up spending 20 times the amount of that initial purchase with you. Let's say 80%. However, for a brand new business, that's an incredibly risky strategy because you don't have the validated offer and you don't have the data to be able to back up and say, oh well, 80% of, so like Coinbase, they've got enough data to say 80% of Coinbase users have an average lifetime value of X amount. So when they're then making these decisions on $20 million for an ad, you know, $10 million in free Bitcoin or whatever, they can then make that decision and rationalize it internally. So for any small businesses or startups watching this, it's important to factor that in before doing something like that. It's not to say you can't do it. If you're bold and you want to take a risk, happy days. But it's just an important consideration to have, that Coinbase does have a big user base already. They probably do have a big portion of data. The other thing that I do find interesting, though, whilst the QR code, I think, is a great mechanism, Rich, because like you say, they can scan it and they come straight onto the landing page. There's none of this, oh, what was that company called? And you have to remember it and people just forget about it. Like, you're literally getting people straight on there, sending to a landing page where they put in their name and email address. Boom. You've now just acquired that as a potential customer, right? Very, very quick customer acquisition. But there are a lot of people, like my mum would have no flipping idea what that is. She would see a QR code bouncing and be like, what is this? She'd probably like call me and say like, my TV's broken. Do you think it's like static bouncing around the TV or something?
Looks like an old-fashioned game of like Pong, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's where the ideas come from, I think.
So I think they have probably, you know, again, they will have this data. I think their marketing teams probably looked at it and said, who is our audience? They, you know, they tend to be very geeky. Maybe, you know, and again, the retro theme they went for, maybe that's
the age group. That's
the age group potentially. And also maybe they've done that intentionally because they have seen, okay, the people that spend the most with Coinbase tend to be very geeky individuals. They know their tech really well, whereas the people that don't really spend with Coinbase don't understand tech. So they've almost used that ad to say, hey, all the geeky people out there who just love scanning random QR codes on the TV, come sign up. I think that was probably very intentional. And I would say a lot of research has gone into that beforehand, as well as a lot of creativity. Is very clever. Pattern interrupt, like we were talking about before, massive pattern interrupt.
Just want to share the Coinbase link as well, because the one you've seen is the generic one. So that's what you get if you're an ordinary user. I believe the landing page was different for the Super Bowl. I want to share that one. Just so that we can show the difference. I just need to go down to share, mate, and allow it.
Okay, cool.
Add it in. That's it, mate. So I believe, could be wrong, but I'm confident. I think they went to something like this. So it's a slightly different one to the one you've got, right? So they're offering $10 in free Bitcoin when you buy or sell $100 more in crypto, right? So for me, this is clever because they earn a lot of their money through fees. So when you buy and you sell, there's a fee, right? There's a like a maker and a taker. So in any sort of transaction, there's a little fee to take when you change one for another. So they earn a lot through fees. So you have to remember as well, like to your point earlier, if your lifetime value, if you're going to be interested in this and you're going to be buying and selling and trading, traders especially, the ones that are getting in and getting out, they're going to provide the most money to them. So it's not really a big deal to offer them $10 up front if you know down the line they're going to be worth a lot more. So I do think they know what their sort of like average lifetime customer value is. And I do think that a lot of that research was done in advance. It's a very simple landing page. It's not really too difficult. It's getting straight to the point. Why should I care? Right there. What information do I need? First name, last name, email, password, bang, account basically created. So
I find that if that's where they sent them to, I'm shocked because this isn't even like they've got like literally a header menu up there. That's not even a landing page. If we compare that, so just take that in. So you've got all the menu items up here, right? So if I'm someone coming on here, again, I've got no context. I've just scanned a random QR code. Naturally, like, and it's not like I'm just getting free.
QR code, shouldn't you?
Yeah, it's not like I'm just getting free Bitcoin. It says when you buy or sell $100. If I saw that, I wouldn't sign up. I absolutely wouldn't sign up. I'd see that. I'd be like, I don't want to spend $100 on Bitcoin. Maybe I'll click around and look at a few of their pages and then I'd bounce. Whereas if you then look at, again, I'll just share my screen again and look at this other page.
Sure, mate.
You'll
I'm
notice
curious to know if that is the same one or not.
Yeah, there is no menu. No menu at all. And this is a really key point, actually. Like,
no, mate, that is the one. Because if you look, already have Coinbase opt in to win 3 million.
Yeah, and it says expired as well. They've got a countdown thing. Oh, look, $15 offer. So maybe they've now changed it to $5 if you watch it after, went on after the.
I should have opted in. Damn it.
Yeah, but I mean, a couple of things, right? It's like one of them, and this is very underestimated. Like it's so easy to forget. If you are paying money to get people to come to your website, you want to make sure there's a very specific action you want them to take, and you don't want to distract them with all of these other menus on, links on your website. Because what's going to happen is they're going to come on your website. They're going to be like, oh, interesting. Okay, let me read what these guys do. And then the Super Bowl starts again. They're like, oh, I'll check it out later. I know they've forgotten about you. Whereas with this, there's nothing else to click on. $5 in Bitcoin to start. Sure. Sign up. I just put in my name and email address. Boom, done. You've now acquired a customer. And we see this all the time when people are, looking at the analytics now, like hundreds of websites that we've looked at over the past couple of years. You will see that if you send paid traffic to a page, they will click around on all the different pages. And again, this is where it comes down to, what is your overall strategy? Are you looking to acquire customers with that ad? If you are, have a dedicated landing page that just guides people to the initial first step you want them to take. If you're just looking for brand awareness and you want people to click around your site, happy days. But for most small businesses, acquisition is key. Right. And maybe that initial acquisition is a lead magnet, a sign up, right, for something of value. Maybe that initial acquisition is them filling out a quiz. Maybe it's a small initial purchase, whatever it is. But you want to be very, very intentional. And I think that Coinbase one is a great example. They've got a very compelling offer. Get $5 in Bitcoin for nothing. Like, there's no exchange. It's not like if you spend $100, it's like just get $5 in Bitcoin. Cool. There's no distractions. So very, very effective. Again, complete pattern interrupt ad match with a very effective offer and landing page. So yeah, I like it. That's by far my favorite.
Yeah, for that very reason. It's simplicity. Yeah. Yes, it's a big gamble. It's not what you'd sort of like expect. It's radically different. But again, for me to sort of like summarize, it plays into the curiosity element. So you almost feel like you have to scan it to see what this thing's all about. Again, if the pre-announcement was done where there's a chance to win 3 million in Bitcoin, you should be sufficiently warmed up enough to know, okay, this is the thing that everyone's talking about. So there's enough buzz and hype. What was done beforehand from the others, I don't know. Sadly, I was not in the loop to know any of this. But I agree with you, mate. I would have given that a 9 out of 10. I would have made that the winner. So I would have said Coinbase for sheer simplicity. I would have called that the winner. I would have had FTX with the very hilarious, slightly longer version as the second, and I'd have had Crypto.com's down at third. Again, just down to the fact that I believe if you're not an absolute crypto nut, and bearing in mind I had to watch it nearly 3 times to really get it, I think the message being missed when you spend that much, it makes me really uncomfortable thinking how much they've spent if the message hasn't landed. It's such a high pressure role, isn't it? You've got to deliver this, you've got to deliver the message, and if you don't, like, you got to explain why all that money was put into advertising and it was basically just straight down the drain, right? It's going to be a really high stress sort of role.
And I just want to like caveat all this again just by saying, like, whilst we're rating these and we're just rating them, based on our own opinions and whatnot, we have no idea how these have done. So for all we know, Coinbase could have had the absolute worst results out of all of those. I very much doubt it, but we don't know. Okay, and I just wanted to kind of drive that message home, because it is a really important aspect to remember with marketing. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter how many campaigns you've run. It doesn't matter, what kind of data and how much research. You could spend millions on consumer research, and businesses do this and then they completely fail and they go under. You just don't know. There's a guy called Rory Sutherland, who I think he's still the CEO of Ogilvy. So they're one of the biggest advertising agencies in the world. And he's got a phenomenal book out. And I've actually just completely forgotten the name now. But if you look up Rory Sutherland, but in his book, he's talking about the very fact of how just unpredictable humans are, right? We just don't know what people are going to do, what we're going to react to. You might think something's an absolute dead certain campaign, and then it goes horribly wrong, right? You just don't know. So you need to have that kind of willingness, like Rich says, like to test, to A/B test, to try different things, and to not get too caught up on your own, what's the word?
Alchemy, the magic of original.
Yeah, that's the one, alchemy. Yeah, you don't want to get too high on your own supply, let's say, because it's very easy, as marketers, as creatives, we're like, oh, I've got this amazing idea. It's going to be the best thing ever. And you launch it and it fails. So you have to be very, very unattached to what you put out there and just take this very kind of data-driven approach, like consumer first, think about your customer, like we were talking about Coinbase, know your customers, understand your customers, and then just put things out there and test, try things. It's always the best way to go because you just don't know.
Otherwise, I would actually just add a little thank you to the owners of the videos who we've just borrowed to obviously share this content on here. I appreciate it. Obviously, I did just dig those out because I wasn't at the halftime show. Therefore, I couldn't, during the Super Bowl, obviously record them myself. So happy days. Tom, do we have time to do a quick website review, or do you want to call it at this?
I think let's do a website review next week. Mm-hmm. So we'll wrap this one up here and then we'll be back next week with a website review. So on that note, for anyone watching, if you do have a website that you want us to cover live, if you want to get some free publicity and also some practical tips to increase your traffic, leads and sales. And actually, quick plug here, the last one, it's probably about 3 reviews ago, we just heard back from one of the people in their marketing team saying that their conversion rate went from 2% to 10%. Like, amazing. It's a massive jump. If you think, and if you just think about the numbers there, let's say you're getting 1,000 visitors to your website, average customer's worth £1,000 to you. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but like flipping hell, what is that, Rich? Tell me. Pull out the calculator.
How much spend?
Say again?
How much spend?
I don't know, but let's just go based on 1,000 visitors, £1,000 average customer value. This is just a purely hypothetical
1,000 visitors, 10%, that's 100. Average customer value of what was it?
1,000.
So 1,000, 10,000, 100,000.
£100,000, yeah. So £100,000 versus, well, it would be £20,000, won't it?
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Like, think about that difference per month coming into your business. Like, that is the difference it can make when you just look at some things objectively on your website. So many businesses, we see this day in, day out. So many businesses have so many golden opportunities, low-hanging fruit, where it's just some tweaks and changes that can be made. This isn't anything we did. They didn't work with, they didn't get us to make any changes. These are changes they could make in-house. And this is the crazy thing. Like, we say this to a lot of businesses. Like, there are lots of businesses we speak to where, we're maybe not in a position where we can work together. They're not in a position where they can afford us right now. But there are changes they can often make that are going to make a monumental difference to the results they're getting. And again, our ulterior selfish motive behind this, we want to get you to the stage where you can afford to work with us full time and you can afford to kind of use us for, your marketing and your paid ad services and things like that. But there are absolutely no obligations. And I just really like seeing that again, just fired me up. Like, we just hear things like this all the time from people that receive these reviews. And I just think like, oh my God, there's so much opportunity out there. And for so many businesses. If you're that
close to your own business, you have to remember as well, it's really hard to think objectively. So it's perfectly normal for you to be so close to your business that you create stuff, you create the website, you create the ads, and you think this is great. And then when stuff doesn't work, it can be quite confusing. So it's funny that when a fresh set of eyes comes in, and they're not attached to the business, they don't have the same views, they look at it totally differently. And sometimes it is literally just hearing what someone else has to say, where you go, oh, okay, well, let's try that. And sometimes it is literally just like a tiny tweak here, like an addition of a word, even sometimes a subtraction from a few lines, or maybe even just adding a plugin, as stupid as it sounds, like can actually create monumental differences. So just don't be scared to give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely. So yeah, so if anyone's watching this and you do want your website covered live, drop it in the comments below this video. If you don't want it covered live, but you'd still like your website audited by one of our strategists, head over to roastmywebsite.co. We will send you over a 10 to 15 minute video screen share, just giving you those tips and suggestions that you or your team can implement to really skyrocket the results that you are getting from your website. Do you know what I've just thought as well, Rich? I should get a little QR code as well. I might create a little bouncing QR code.
Sad. I actually had the ad today because I was going to use it as an exit screen for you and send.
No,
you do need one, yeah.
I'm getting like QR code FOMO now.
See, go and create a QR code, and we can stick it where the Elevate Digital logo is on here, and we can have it play at the end of every single one. Get your free website review.
Just bounce around. Yeah. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Cool. All right, let's wrap that one up there. So we'll be back next week for a website roast. Anyone watching, or if you know anyone who, a lot of people have been sharing them around recently. So if you know anyone who might benefit, let them know, send them the link, or send them the link to this video if you think they'd benefit as well. And we will speak to you guys very soon. Bye-bye.